All right, we'll start this shindig in 1 minute, 2 minutes. We are live on YouTube. We have one person watching. Thank you. We got 0. And of course, Colorcast. We have my lucky fan, Dodgers 11. Thank you for joining me, Dodgers 11. Very kind. And we got an anonymous listener. There we go. All right, we'll give it 1 more minute before we start this thing. Feel free to drop your comments or questions in the chat. And I will get going in a second here. 1 more minute. We will start at 7:32. Dodgers 11, do you want to jump on the hot seat in a little bit? Would love to hear your sports takes. All right. Maybe toward the end. Unless you want to jump in on something after each segment, we can go from there. But let me know if you want to jump in. Wait till the end. Okay, that's fine. All right, let's get this show on the road. Welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Show. You can also follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's the Instagram. On Twitter, it's Too Tall Sports. If you're watching on YouTube Live, you can also follow me there right now, Too Tall Sports Podcast. You can find all my videos and weekly episodes posted there, plus my 2 cent segment, which is kind of like what this is, where all my hot takes and my big topics of the week. So I like to go through those. Especially on this show, we have a little more time, a little more runway. So if you guys want to jump in, feel free to do so. I'd love to bring you on the hot seat and go back and forth with it. It's more of an interactive show. So feel free to jump in with that. I'll give you the rundown before we start. I'm going to kick the show off with some NBA 75 list. They came out with their anniversary list of the 75 years of the NBA and who the best players are in those 75 years. Lots of snubs, of course, with every list. So we'll talk about that. I'll close the book on the Dodgers season. I'd like to kind of give my thoughts on what I saw. I won't go too crazy into it just because what people saw, but there's also looming free agency happening, so we can talk about that. Not a huge college football weekend, but there is one big game to pay attention to: Michigan and Michigan State, number 6 versus number 8. That'll be a big game this weekend for college football purposes. We can talk about that. NFL recap, a lot of stuff and a lot of blowouts, a lot of ugly games. Of course, we can talk about the bad teams and teams that are struggling right now. Also teams like Tennessee that are hitting their stride. So we can talk about that. A little World Series preview if you'd like. We can get into that as well, even though game 1's starting right now already. We can talk about the Lions and Rams game. I thought that was a pretty interesting game where the Lions basically emptied their entire playbook. That was kind of fun to watch. And maybe some surprise NBA teams as well this early NBA season. So we can talk about that too. And speaking of the NBA, that's kind of where I wanted to start. So let's talk about the NBA 75 anniversary list. So as I mentioned off the top, the NBA came out with its 75th anniversary list of the top 75 players in the history of the league. Most of them are totally valid and deserve to be on there, so no issues with that. There are a couple names that were left off and a couple names that made it that probably shouldn't have, and I wanted to get into a few of those. The first name that comes to mind that didn't make the list, I'd say probably the biggest snub, is Dwight Howard. A lot of people have a recency bias against Dwight, me included. I never thought he'd be a Laker again. I honestly thought he'd be out of the league by now. I'm shocked he's still playing. But I think people forget his first 10 years were really productive and really good. And I did want to compare him to somebody who did make the list. and that was Anthony Davis. Now, I like Anthony Davis, and he's a great player. Is he top 75 of all time at this moment right now? I would say no, he is not. Anthony Davis is a great player. He's often injured. He falls down a lot, which I don't understand at his size, why he's on the ground so much. Anyway, this is not an anti-Anthony Davis rant. However, I don't think he deserved to make the list. So I wanted to give you the two resumes between AD and Dwight, and you let me know which one you think deserves to be here. Let me give you AD's first. He's an 8-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defensive Player, 3-time blocks leader. Has a ring and 13,000 points at this moment, 6,000 rebounds, 1,000 blocks. Okay, that's Anthony Davis's resume, who made the list. Feel free to drop in any thoughts on that if you want to. Let me give you Dwight's numbers now compared to AD's. So 8-time All-Star, that's the same. 8-time All-NBA compared to Anthony Davis's 4 times. 5-time All-Defense compared to AD's 4-time All-Defense. Dwight is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. That, to me, is the nail in the coffin as to why Dwight deserves to make it. 3 times Defensive Player of the Year. AD, never Defensive Player of the Year. Dwight was also a 5-time rebound leader in the league. I don't think AD ever led the league in rebounds. He's a champion, 2-time blocks leader, and his stats right now, 19,000 points, 14,000 rebounds, 2,000 blocks. So he's more than doubled up AD in a couple of categories, and he's 6,000 points ahead. So right now, for these 75 years up to today, you should put Dwight in over Anthony Davis. Now, on the top 100 list in the next 25 years, when that comes out, AD probably will make that list. That would be my estimation there. But until then, he doesn't deserve to be on the list, and Dwight clearly deserves to be on the list. Dwight Howard also, remember, he stopped us from the matchup we all wanted to see, which was Kobe versus LeBron in the 2009 NBA Finals. That never happened because Dwight and his Orlando Magic in 2009 went to the finals instead. Although they lost to Kobe and the Lakers, they still went to the finals. So Dwight deserves a lot of credit. I know he's been wacky. I know people are down on him over the last 8 years. He's bounced around a lot in the league. So he's just, I don't know. There's stuff that people don't like about him, and I totally get it. He can be annoying and too goofy sometimes, doesn't take the game seriously, all that. I get all that. But I think he kind of saved his legacy a little bit when he came back to the Lakers, helped win a championship and all that. So if you have thoughts on that, feel free to jump in the chat there and let me know what you think about AD making it and Dwight not. I want to focus on a couple other names also that made it. Damian Lillard made the list, and I think people would drop him off first over everybody else, even AD that made it. I think that Damian Lillard is a great player. He's been hiding in Portland a little bit and underappreciated because of where he plays. Now, he's had some recent playoff success, and you know the big shots he's hit. One against Paul George, and he said it was a bad shot. That's when the logo Lillard name started happening, right? He had the one against Russell Westbrook where he waved bye to him. That was a clutch shot. So he's had some big-time shots in his career. Now, he doesn't have the accolades that the others do, right? It's hard to make it in the West as an all-star over guys like Chris Paul, James Harden, for when he was on the West. You got Russell Westbrook. You got, who else? Chris Paul. Lots of point guards that you're just not going to make it over sometimes. So Dame doesn't have the accolades, and he hasn't been to a finals yet. So I'd say if people are going to pull someone off the list, it would be Dame. Now, who do you replace him with? You got guys like Klay Thompson, 3-time champion. Didn't necessarily, no one does it on their own, but Klay Thompson made it, and he's arguably the second greatest shooter of all time, right behind his teammate, Steph Curry. So Klay probably should be on the list. Westbrook made it. James Harden made it. Both have MVPs. Hard to take them off. And Russell Westbrook did average a triple-double one year. That's 75 greatest if you ask me, regardless of what you think of him at the end of games or if he's a turnover machine. Russ deserves to be on there. Other notable names that didn't make it, Tracy McGrady, he had a great career, never got to the finals or even a Western Conference Finals, I believe. I would say T-Mac underachieved for his talent. He did decide to leave Orlando, or he did leave Orlando, but he decided to leave Toronto with Vince when they were both there. And the other name I was going to bring up was Vince Carter, Vinsanity. You may think of him as the greatest dunker of all time, which he is, but he also is top 20 in scoring all time. Yes, he played 20 years, so you're going to accumulate numbers just like LeBron James does by playing 20 years, just like Kobe did playing 20 years, Tim Duncan, all these guys. But Vince Carter's top 20 in scoring. He's number 19 right now. You can't dispute that. And if the history of the league will be told, I think Vince Carter's a name that might sneak in there as a name that you remember in the last 75 years. So I think Vince should be in. Another name that didn't make it, Kyrie Irving. You know, he did win a championship and was a huge part with LeBron in those Cavs runs to the finals in those 4 years. It was them and the Warriors for 4 years straight. I think Kyrie, also a great player, probably better dribbling ability and sometimes shot-making ability than guys that are on this list, like Jason Kidd, like Gary Payton, like Steve Nash, possibly, right? But do you really take those guys off for Kyrie Irving? I don't think you do at this point in time. He still has, if he freaking gets a vaccine or decides to come back and play basketball, he has time to right the ship. And if he wins a couple titles with Brooklyn and they figure it out with KD and Harden, that could change the narrative for Kyrie. If he becomes the hero again, he comes back, blah, blah, blah. Right now, I think people are caught up with the name over where they actually stand in this NBA 75 list. I don't think Kyrie deserves to be on. A couple other guys that, a guy that made it that some would argue shouldn't be on there is Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce is a very good player. I would not put him in the great category. I think you could put Klay Thompson in over Paul Pierce. I know that he had a longer career so far, and we'll see where Klay ends up. Paul Pierce is a guy that is a maybe off. Only with one championship. Didn't really do much until Garnett and Ray Allen got there. So I'm going to go with Paul Pierce. Doesn't deserve to make the list at this moment in time. Now, the other big argument, there's a couple other names I want to mention. You got guys like Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, big-time contributors to the Spurs dynasty. And you got a guy like Pau Gasol. I saw a name was floated around. Great player, but not enough accolades, I don't think. Same thing with Derrick Rose. He was an MVP, but the injuries just caught up to him. I don't think he's in the top 75. Maybe he would have. He was on that trajectory for sure. But I don't know if Derrick Rose is a top 75 player of all time. I don't know if I can put him in there. You got guys like Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas. I don't know if I can put D Rose ahead of those dudes. Let me know what you think. 2 rings for who? Dodgers 11. Yeah. Oh, for Pau. Yeah. I don't know if he's top 75. You got other power forwards. Who do you take out? Do you take Tim Duncan off the list for him? No. You take Kevin Garnett off the list for him? No. Moses Malone? No. Charles Barkley? No. Who's the power forward you're taking off at 75 to get Pau in there? Great player. Love Pau. But is he top 75? I don't know. One of the best European players of all time. No question there. Do you take Hakeem Olajuwon out? You take Patrick Ewing out? I don't think so. So hard to say Pau is top 75. You got to give me somebody that you think should be on there or should be taken off. In that same position, let's stick to if it's Robert Parrish. Yeah. Okay. He was obviously part of those Celtics runs in the 80s. You and I were not old enough to watch those, so we weren't even born yet. So Celtics' last title was 86. You may remember that, but I don't remember that. Ha, ha, ha. Just kidding. So anyway, yeah, if you want to hit that, we can definitely hit that. We can circle back to the NBA 75. I think everything I said was fair. I mean, you can argue if you like certain guys over other guys, but Dwight's clearly the biggest snub. He deserved to make it. And Anthony Davis, at this moment in time, right now, doesn't deserve to be on that list. That's where I stand on this. Wanted to close the book on the Dodgers season. I'll shift to that for a second. There is a looming free agency for guys like Kenley Jansen, Chris Taylor, Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, and also Corey Seager, also slated to be a free agent. Who do you decide? Who do you want to keep? Who do you want to let go? Before the season, I would have said let Kenley go right now, yesterday. He did have a resurgent season and pitched pretty damn well. Do I want to re-sign Kenley long-term? No. I think his best years are behind him. I don't think he's getting better from this moment in time moving forward. I think we can let Kenley walk. Chris Taylor, I think we need. He's a gamer. I really missed Kike Hernandez this year, and he did really well with the Red Sox. I don't want to miss another gamer-type tough player, plays multiple positions. I think we got to keep Chris Taylor. I think we got to sign him. Clayton Kershaw is a tough one. You got the legacy there. He's a lifetime Dodger. He's been great for the Dodgers over the time. He's arguably the best left-handed pitcher ever. He's in the conversation. Guys like Sandy Koufax, Randy Johnson. I'm sure there are a few others. Oh man, the injuries are catching up. Again, same thing with Kenley and Kershaw. They're not going to get any better. And you can make the argument for the next guy, Max Scherzer as well. 37 years old. He's way older than Kershaw. But he doesn't break down as much as Kershaw does, even at his advanced age. I'd love to see Scherzer come back on a 1 or 2 year deal. I'm okay with that. He's still got great stuff. He was unbelievable once he got traded to the Dodgers, and he's amazing still. I would love to see Scherzer come back, and I'm in the camp of keep Corey Seager. I know Bellinger is going to make everybody be a prisoner of the moment and forget his hitting a $160 this year. I'm okay. I know this is going to maybe sacrilegious here, but I'm okay letting Cody Bellinger walk eventually, and we're going to keep Corey Seager. I think he is the guy we need to keep with Trey Turner. Keep those guys in the middle infield. We have so many outfielders I feel like we can replace with. I'm okay letting Cody Bellinger walk. You guys let me know what you think on that. I don't know if we have enough money. We don't have money for everybody. Excuse me. We don't have enough money for everybody. But as far as the season goes, the way the NLCS went, Eddie Rosario was on fire. Couldn't keep that guy off the bases. The pitching, defense, and timely hitting. That's what it always comes down to in the playoffs. And the Dodgers just didn't have it. I think the front office or Dave Roberts, one or two, they tried to get tricky. They got too cute with Urias and Scherzer. Scherzer had dead arm at the end of the year. He could barely even throw at the end of the season. He said he didn't have his stuff at the end of the year. And we went all in on winning the division, and we went all in on winning the Giants series. And I'll still say this. Dave Roberts used to do this with Clayton Kershaw, and now he did it to Julio Urias. When you have a guy that's thrown more innings than he ever has in his career this year, he's the only 20-game winner in the National League this year. You cannot put Julio Urias in a high-leverage bullpen reliever role in the 8th inning of a very important game and expect him to be dominant like he is as a starter. I'll never agree with, quote-unquote, getting your work in as your bullpen day as a reliever in a playoff game. That is not the time to throw your starter out there who's already gassed. He's already dead from the regular season. He's thrown so many innings, and you want him to be sharp in that high-leverage moment in the 8th inning of a playoff game. I don't get that. The Dodgers have had a phenomenal bullpen all year long, and Dave Roberts fell back into the trap of, I love my starters, and I want to pitch them as much as possible. It doesn't work. It does not work. They got away with it in the Giants series with Scherzer. Fine, you can close the deal, whatever. It's not going to work against a team like Atlanta who's got an insane lineup, who's incredibly hot. And he did it to Kershaw, and he did it to freaking Urias. I just don't understand that mindset. The Dodgers bullpen is so good. Trinan, Joe Kelly, Gratterall. You got guys like Trinan. I said Trinan. Vesia. All kinds of relievers that have done the job this year. Knebel was great. I don't know why Dave Roberts, he always does this with the guys he likes, that he just thinks they're invincible, and they're not. Bickford, great job. Thank you, Dodgers 11. It's crazy to think about the way that Dave Roberts used the bullpen again this year. At Hey Mama, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Just disappointing end to a great season for the Dodgers. We'll see what they do in the offseason. Hopefully we can keep some of these guys, but I don't know. It's going to be tough sledding here for the Dodgers moving forward as far as who we keep. So great season, but we didn't deserve to win. So that's that. I want to move on to quick note on college football. Last weekend wasn't great, but a lot of big games this weekend. You got Michigan State. That'll be, a fun game for the Big Ten, which I still think both of those teams are miles away from Alabama, Ohio State, and maybe Ohio State, but Alabama, Georgia are so far ahead of the pack. Michigan State, no chance of beating either of those teams if they make the playoff, but I think it'll be a good game for the Big Ten as far as that's concerned. Michigan State, number 6 versus number 8. You got Ole Miss facing Auburn, number 10 versus 18, I believe. And then you got a banged-up Penn State team against Ohio State. Not a lot of great games this weekend. But Michigan State, that should be a fun one. Harbaugh's doing it, man. They're undefeated. So as long as they keep winning, I'm sure the committee would love to put big fan base Michigan in the Final Four. So for the college football playoff, we'll see if they end up doing that. So if you want to hit college football, go ahead and hit me up in the chat. If not, I'll move on to the NFL here. The Miami Dolphins are really, really bad. They were a contending team last year, and they've totally reversed course and went the wrong way. I'm not a believer in Tua. Although he had big yards and a few touchdowns, he still had a couple picks this past weekend. I'm not a believer in Tua. I don't see it. I don't see the special. I think they're definitely in the sweepstakes for Deshaun Watson, even though he's got a ton of off-the-field problems. I'm just not sure what the Dolphins are doing here with Tua. I don't know. It's just not there. It's not happening. I think they need to find a game changer. The other team that needs to find a game changer, I was wrong. I really thought this was the breakout year for Sam Darnold. Clearly not. They started 3-0, and now they're 3-4. They've lost 4 straight games, and he looks terrible. Sam Darnold loves throwing it to the other team. I don't get it. His decision-making, I don't know if the game speeds up on him or what. He just makes such bad decisions with the football. I don't understand why. I really don't. He was supposed to be so much better with better coaching, better talent around him. He's not. He is still bad. And he got benched. This is how you know you're bad. He got benched for a guy that was in the XFL a couple years ago. That's right, the XFL. Matt Rule coached him at Temple. PJ Walker was his name. This is, I guess, is this rock bottom for Sam Darnold? I know missing Christian McCaffrey is a huge blow. I get that. But, man, they got better talent. They got good players over there in Carolina. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Chuba Hubbard. They got dudes. So I'm not sure what's going on there in Carolina, but they've lost 4 straight, trending in the wrong direction. And there's reports that they're in the sweepstakes now for Deshaun Watson. So they may make a move at the deadline. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think about that. Hit me in the chat if you want to talk about Sam Darnold. Philly could use Watson. Good call. They could. I don't know if they're ready to give up on Jalen Hurts, and we know he's not as good as people say he is, especially in fantasy football world. That's an inside joke for me and Dodgers 11. But, yeah, I don't know if Philly's ready to give up on Jalen Hurts yet. But of course, most teams could use a Deshaun Watson. I don't know if teams want to take the PR hit, though, and bring him into their building right now. It's a little bit too hot water right now for Deshaun Watson. As far as, the Tennessee Titans, let's talk about them. Talk about a team on the rise right now. They had a bad loss to the Jets, and then all they did was, in back-to-back games, beat Buffalo and Kansas City convincingly. Tannehill looks great. Derrick Henry's unstoppable. Here's where Mahomes is at right now. Funny thing that happened. Derrick Henry, the running back for the Titans, threw a touchdown in a kind of a trick play this weekend. So Derrick Henry, a running back, threw a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes did not throw a touchdown this past weekend. He is tied for the lead in interceptions with Zach Wilson, probably not the best stat to be a leader of. And he's tied, I think he's got the lead, 11 turnovers, so 2 fumbles and 9 picks so far. Already more interceptions this year than he had all of last year, and we're only in week 7. I love watching Patrick Mahomes play. He's still probably the most talented quarterback outside of Aaron Rodgers in the league right now. He is trying to do too much. 6 straight games with an interception. I know the defense is terrible. They are bad. But he's keeping them on the field even longer than they need to be with all these turnovers. They're like 31st, 32nd and everything. I know the defense is bad. He's trying way too hard to overcome the shortcomings of the Chiefs' defense. They're just not clicking on offense. They're not taking the little dink and dunks that they need to. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got hurt, but you still got Kelsey. You still got Tyreek Hill. You still got Robinson. You still got Mecole Hardman. You got a bunch of dudes that can play. Darrell Williams is a decent running back. Patrick Mahomes just always seems to be looking for the home run play, and it's a lot of off-script stuff. So I'm not quite sure where Kansas City goes from here. They're still 3-4. They're still in it, but they're looking up at the Chargers and the Raiders. They got to pick their you-know-what up right now because it's not looking good for Kansas City. And Mahomes just got absolutely whacked in the head this past weekend by a knee. That didn't look very good. He passed concussion protocol. So we'll see if he plays Monday night. They got hopefully a gimme game against the Giants, but Kansas City looks bad right now. New England finally got a win, which is nice. Maybe this is the first Alabama quarterback in the Nick Saban era to actually be decent with Mac Jones. He looked pretty good this past weekend. Jalen Hurts, we'll see. Tua, I don't think so. But he played well this past weekend, I guess, for Tua standards. But for the Saban era in Alabama, I would say Mac Jones looks like the best product that he's had so far. So, obviously they beat the Jets, which is a terrible team. So we'll see what happens with the New England Patriots. But they got their first home win, which is weird that they hadn't had one yet. But they're still in it. So they look. New England looked pretty good again against the Jets. So who knows? Last NFL take I had was I mentioned the Detroit Lions against the Rams off the top. This was the former quarterback bowl. So you had Matthew Stafford, the former quarterback of the Lions, much happier on the 6-1 LA Rams against Jared Goff, the former Ram, going to the miserable Detroit Lions at now 0-7. However, the Detroit Lions, you know what? If you're 0 for the season, why not? Pull out whatever you got. They start the game with an onside kick. Then they get 2 successful fake punts that worked against the Rams. They had the lead. This is, by the way, a funniest stat of the weekend. The Lions were up, I believe, either 3-0 or 7-0. And it was the first offensive snap they had taken with the lead. That is insane to me, 7 weeks in. But anyway, that's how bad the Lions are. That's how bad Jared Goff is. Their whole team sucks. Let's just be real. DeAndre Swift is a decent player, but the Lions are bad. But you know what? They play hard for that coach. Dan Campbell gets those guys. I don't know what he does, but they play freaking hard, and they're in every game, and they were outplaying the Rams for 2.5, 3 quarters. So kudos to the Lions for playing their asses off. The Rams remembered who they were. Stafford remembered who he was, and Goff remembered who he was. It's just the decision-making of Jared Goff sometimes. Kind of like Sam Darnold. You can't fix that. You make bad decisions when it's late in the game. Yes, that was a crazy stat. I know. Yeah, exactly. That's how bad the Lions are. But they do play hard in there in every game, so I feel bad for Dan Campbell. He's getting the most out of that team, but they just don't have the talent. They don't have the horses to compete with teams like the Rams and the other good teams in the league. They've had some bad luck. They lost on a Justin Tucker history-making field goal. They lost to Minnesota at the end of the game. They've been in games. It's just they're bad. So I don't know if you can fix that. It's going to be another long season for the Detroit Lions. World Series predictions. I go back to, I think I said it off the top. I think the Astros, although I guess I could check the score right now and we'll see what the score is. But last I checked, Atlanta's up 5-1, bottom of the 6th right now, game 1. I was going to say Astros in 6 or 7. That was my initial thought. They have home field. They have a lineup that is extremely combustible. They could easily put up 9-10 runs just like that in one game. And I thought with home field, and I thought even though Valdez looked terrible today, and Charlie Morton had a little injury that he came out of the game with, but he was way sharper than Valdez. I still think Astros in 6 or 7, although I would love to see. He broke his leg. I hope not. That's terrible if so. I thought they weren't sure yet on the MRI or the X-rays or whatever. That was from a ball off Gurriel's bat that hit him apparently. That's crazy if Morton broke his leg. I hope that's not true. But if it is, wow, that sucks. That's a huge loss for the Braves. But I guess even more reason to give the Astros a chance here. But I didn't want it to be that way. I would love to see the Braves win it all. They were knocking at the door last year. They blew the 3-1 lead. I do not want to see the cheaters in the Astros, especially the impact players that they have, the stars they have, Correa, Altuve, Bregman. I do not want to see those dudes win a World Series, even if it's legitimate. I can't be happy for them. That's bad for the league. They never got punished for their World Series win in 2017 that they cheated to get, and they won't be punished now. So you guys let me know what you think about the Astros and Braves. I don't want to see them win. I guess the matchup of the hottest hitters right now is Eddie Rosario and Yordan Alvarez. Those guys, man, for both teams. Rosario for the Braves, Alvarez for the Astros. Those dudes are on fire right now for their respective teams. So, I don't know exactly, J-Mac. I'm not sure if it's confirmed he broke his leg, but one of my listeners says it's a broken leg. So I'm not exactly sure. I hope not, because that would alter the series a little bit pitching-wise for the Braves. And they had to get to their bullpen really early tonight in Game 1. If anybody wants to jump on the hot seat, totally allowed. Jump on in. Thank you for all the likes. I appreciate it. Now we're up over 100 likes. Thank you very much on the Colorcast app. I appreciate that. If anybody wants to jump on the hot seat, maybe Dodgers 11 if you're into it. I was going to do some NBA stuff. Biggest surprises so far, I'll at least throw this out there. The Chicago Bulls are 4-0. Are you kidding me with that? They are the let me get Dodgers 11 up here. Let me see if I can get them on here real quick. I think that'd be funny. Let me know if you can jump in there. But I want to talk about the Bulls for a second because of all the players they have from a certain area. Let's see if he can jump on here. I invited him. But anyway, the Warriors are 3-0. The surprising Charlotte Hornets are also undefeated, and they're starting out hot in their division. And LaMelo Ball, biggest surprise of the NBA. You know, I was not a LaMelo Ball guy, but biggest surprise this year for me is the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo Ball. The Warriors are starting out hot. Good for them. I'm trying to get Dodgers 11 in here. See if he can jump on the hot seat. Bear with me. There he is. Can you hear me? Is your mic on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. There we go.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
How much blame do you put on Roberts and how much blame do you put on Freeman for the Dodgers with all these decisions in the playoffs that they failed on?
That's a great question. The problem is I don't know who decides what. Is it Dave Roberts' decision to put Urias in the 8th inning, or is that already scripted by the front office? That's the hard part about that question. What do you think?
I think it's more Freeman, but I think it's possibly still someone Roberts. I just think the biggest issue is the analytics. I think they overdo it, and I think that's the biggest issue for the Dodgers. They try to get too cute, too pretty, and they pay the price for it.
I totally agree with you. I think that is the biggest problem right now. And the bullpen was stacked this year. I don't know why they just refuse. There is this need to put the starters in high leverage situations. I don't understand that, especially like I mentioned with Urias' innings count this year. I don't get that.
Yeah, it was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, the bullpen is already very good. There was no reason for them to do that. Scherzer, I see why they did it, but still, I think that was a little much. Urias, that was completely unnecessary.
Yes, I totally agree with you there. While I have you, I know you had some thoughts on the what about the USC LA Bulls right now?
They could be dangerous, and the way they're playing, it looks like it's fun basketball to watch. So I'm interested to see how long they can keep it going. But the way Ball's distributing, getting guys going, I think it could work out. I mean, defense, I don't know, but yeah.
I agree. And the reason I said it, for those that know USC LA, because there's 2 starters from USC and there's 2 starters from UCLA on the Chicago Bulls starting lineup. So pretty interesting because you got Levine and Lonzo Ball from UCLA, and you got Vucevic and who am I forgetting? DeRozan from USC. That's what okay, yes. So anyway, they're off to a hot start. Warriors are 3-0. They look back. Jordan Poole's filling in nicely for Klay Thompson. So you can imagine when Klay comes back, the Warriors were clicking again. And I mentioned the Charlotte Hornets are looking good right now. Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier, and you got LaMelo. They're looking good.
Who's your favorite in the West this year?
My favorite in the West. Definitely not the Lakers. You know what? Let me pull up the standings while we're looking at this here. I want to see who's at the top record-wise. Golden State's 4-0. And then you got Utah, Denver, Memphis is 2-1, Dallas. I think I guess it's Golden State. They did not lose a preseason game either. Not that is a huge deal, but they've won 10 straight games if you count the preseason. Something's different about the Warriors this year. But I would say Utah and Denver. What's that?
And Clay's still out.
And Clay's still out.
Clay's back.
I know. I'm pretty surprised. And they've won 3 road games of the 4 also. They've only won 1 home game so far. So something's going on with Golden State. They look great. I still think Utah and Denver are going to be 2 and 3 or, in that mix as well. So who do you think is going to be the favorite out of the West?
I think Utah is one of the teams people aren't talking about. I think Warriors. I think you said it right there. Nuggets lost to the Cavs last night at home. I think the Nuggets are it's glaring now, missing Jamal Murray.
Yes, I would agree with that. Utah's just going to win a bunch of games. They're not really a threat, though, I don't think, in the West.
You really don't think this could be the year they break through?
I don't know. I think Rudy Gobert is very overrated and doesn't really do much in the playoffs. I don't think.
Okay.
He does a lot in the regular season, kind of, but right? Do you remember anything about him in the playoffs? He doesn't really do much, and it's all predicated on Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, and as for any thoughts on the NBA 75 list, who should have made it, who shouldn't make it?
My biggest guy, I think Dame should come off for sure. And then Pierce, you said. Who else is there? Parrish. I mean, those are probably the three guys I would say most. And then I don't remember him too well, but Dominique Wilkins, a lot of people have been making a case about.
He's basically Vince Carter.
Yeah.
They're like the same guy.
I think you're right. Vince Carter should be on it. Vince Carter, for our generation, is the greatest dunker of all time. Maybe Dominique Wilkins is that for the older generation.
Right. And if they're about the same player, but Vince is top 20 in scoring, I think he got to get him in there.
Yeah, and the longevity's there with Vince for sure.
Yeah. Thoughts on Damian Lillard or Kyrie making it? Should they have swapped, or neither of them should have made it?
Neither should have made it.
Yeah, I agree. Kyrie didn't make it. I don't think he should have made it at all. T-Mac, what do you think? Tracy McGrady? Oh, you're off. Sorry, you got kicked off. My fault. But we got someone new coming in. What's up, Nathan? Thank you for joining the show. Anyways, thank you for jumping on there, Dodgers 11. Great stuff. Let's see. Yes, back to your analytics question. Yes, that is true. If you want to hit the chat, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it, guys. If you have any last topics you guys want to hit on, I will definitely hit that. Any of the stuff we talked about. Let's get in there. Nathan, come on, jump on. Let's see. Let me get you in here. I will put you on the mic. Hear what you have to say. All right, I just sent the invite. Whatever topics you want to hit, and I can give you some topics if you want, but let me make sure you're on here. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Hi, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, thank you. All right, so I just have one question.
Yeah, what do you want to hit on?
We just won against the Spurs. Great. But I do want to hit the Ben Simmons situation.
Okay.
This guy, to me, he's been a complete drama queen, in my opinion.
Yes.
He's way different compared to Kyrie Irving because he's, with the whole vaccine. But Simmons is like, look, you're the guy that messed up in the postseason last year, okay? And now you're being a baby about, I want to get traded. Look, it's your fault that you messed up. So at this point, should he just come back and just play? Or does he have the right to actually just sit out and wait to get traded? That's
a great question. I think there's a couple problems here. One, if you remember, Doc Rivers was asked after that last playoff game. He was in the moment, and they asked him, could you win a championship with Ben Simmons as your point guard? And he said, I don't know right now. I don't know how to answer that. Probably didn't go over too well with Ben. Should he have a little thicker skin, especially in Philadelphia? Yes, he should. But I think if he wants to get traded, I think he's got to come back. His value is at an all-time low right now. So I think that's why the Sixers want him to come back, because we need to boost his trade value so he can get you out of here. I wish they would tell him that and just say, hey, come back and play so you can boost your value a little bit, and we will look to move you. I think that would be the honest, good thing to do, because he clearly doesn't want to be there. He only showed up so he could stop getting fined and make his money this year. So do I think he should have a little thicker skin? Yes. But this has been the dude since the beginning. He's often carefree about basketball. To me, I don't see a passionate player when I watch him play. I think he's just there floating through, running through the motions. What do you think about that?
I think I feel the same way.
Yeah.
He was a defensive-minded player, and that's what I like about him.
Yeah.
If anything. But it's just the offensive part of his game that scares me. And honestly, it has been a scare ever since he got drafted number 1. He obviously can't shoot the three ball well.
No.
We've seen him in the offseason. But we've seen that every offseason, sir.
We've seen this movie way too many times with him in his offseason workouts. Can we see that in the game? He's so comfortable in these offseason workouts. Where is this in the game?
Exactly. I think he made 1 of 1 during an exhibition game against some China squad in the preseason. So I'm like, okay, good. And in the regular season against actual NBA teams, he's like, oh, never mind, I'm not going to shoot.
I don't get it.
What's your mindset? Exactly.
Yeah. And clearly, if he's not going to be able to shoot, him and Embiid can't work together because they both need to be in the paint. So it doesn't work with those two.
Exactly. So I hope that gets fixed. And honestly, deep down, I do feel for him. I think he mentioned something about his mental.
Yeah, see, that's the tricky part. Yeah, I think you got to be careful with that. He definitely is not a big market player. Could you imagine if he was playing for the Lakers, how much shit he would get? Like, I mean, Philly's a tough market. New York's tough. But, like, dude, if you played in LA for the Lakers, he would get crushed out here.
He probably has Skip Bayless on his ass.
Maybe he'll join Kuzma with the Shanghai Sharks. I love when people throw that out there.
That's the wisdom.
And by the way, have you seen Kuzma all of a sudden like they're playing decently well so far, and he's like playing free and all this BS with him? Like I'm so over Kuzma. What do you think about him?
I mean, he's doing okay. I mean, I guess he's been better than he was with the Lakers, but then all of a sudden, like a few days ago, puts up only 6 points. So I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like the Lakers, huh? So yeah. Honestly, with that, I don't know. Kuzma I liked him at times with the Lakers, but there's other times where I'm like, just get this guy off my team. Please.
Yes.
He don't fit. I do miss Lonzo, though. I've always been a big Lonzo fan. You ask anyone that knows me, it's pretty clear that I am.
You know what? Good for you, because I couldn't stick with him, man. I was okay. Like, I mean, getting Anthony Davis for him, it worked. We got a championship, right? So I guess it worked, but I was not a Lonzo believer. I thought he used to cross half court and just give the ball up as soon as possible and run to the corner. He never impacted the game, in my opinion. Maybe just because he was super young and he wasn't mature and ready to go yet, and maybe he'll be much freer in Chicago. Good for you for being a believer. I didn't see it. I don't know. I wasn't a fan early on.
Yeah. So if you were, say, the Sixers, right, would you still have drafted Simmons back then, or would you maybe get Lonzo, maybe Jaylen Brown?
I think they got tricked. While Danny Ainge was still sneaky with the Celtics, I think he totally tricked both of those teams in the beginning and got Tatum at 3. He's the consensus #1 pick in that draft, I think, if you look back now. Was that draft or no? I'm sorry.
I think it was because so it was Simmons. Well, I think it was.
Was that it?
No, it was Tatum, I think.
Or was that that might be the Markelle Fultz draft.
Oh yeah.
I forget who was with the Simmons draft. Let me actually. I got a second. Let me look that up. What was that 2016 draft?
I believe so. Yeah, the 2016 draft was the Simmons.
Was that right? Yeah, it was Simmons. Oh, that was the Simmons, Brandon Ingram, Jaylen Brown draft. So the Lakers went Ingram and Jaylen Brown. I mean, you could argue that Ingram and Jaylen Brown are about the same at this point. I mean, they're both good players. I like Jaylen Brown's game a little more. But now seeing Simmons #1, none of them have like become superstars yet. If you look at those 3.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, Ingram's coming to his own.
Yeah, he is.
I just feel bad for him at times because first off, it's New Orleans.
Yeah.
He has Zion, but like, okay, yeah, Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah.
Who else? At this point, yeah, because look, we all know Zion's gonna leave. I mean, if I was a betting man, which I guess I am to an extent, I bet Zion's gonna leave the first chance he gets.
Right.
So if anything, Ingram's the only one that's gonna stay.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you, and he's doing great there. I was looking back at who else is in that. It's amazing how quickly we forget about that 2016 draft. Buddy Hield, and then Jamal Murray, and then Sabonis was in that draft. Who's having a great career so far. Definitely. There was some good players in there. Siakam was in that draft late in the first round, and Malcolm Brogdon was a second rounder. Yeah. Yeah.
That was a mistake for sure. He's a solid point guard.
Yeah.
I think Sabonis, for me, I love him because he puts up so many fantasy points in my league, and I have him, thankfully.
Yes, one of my other listeners on here has Sabonis. He'd be very happy with that as well. I wanted him, dude. He's really good. Yeah, he's really good. I like his game. Yeah. So are you a Lakers fan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on? Are you panicking yet, or you think we're okay?
I think we're okay. I wouldn't raise any red flags yet. We all knew that it's going to happen, that we're going to have these rough patches, but I promise you, as a Lakers fan, once the second half of the season starts, it's going to go crazy.
Yeah.
We're going to get wins and wins and wins. We'll all get used to each other eventually. I mean, Westbrook, we know him. Like in the first half on a new team, he's like, okay, let me see what I can do. And then once the second half comes, once he finds that role, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this and it's going to work and we're going to get wins. So we'll be fine.
We'll see. Yeah. And I was actually excited about the Westbrook trade. A lot of people were down on him, but I was actually excited about it. But yeah, his turnovers at the end of games, his recklessness at the end of games, and his bad shot selection. I don't know if he can fix that. We got an easy schedule coming up. I'm a Lakers fan too, so I'm in Orange County, so I'm a SoCal guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you in LA?
Oh, that means I'm not. I live like in Northern California.
Oh, okay.
More specifically, like the Stockton area.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Okay, so you're a Dodgers fan, right?
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I'm so sorry for you.
I know. You know what? Yeah, it's good to see that you have the SoCal. You're rooting for SoCal teams in NorCal. That's unusual.
Yeah, we don't got anything over here. We got the A's, man.
Yeah. No, that's good. We hate the Giants.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. That was oh man, that was a tough. I'm glad we beat them, but the Braves are just hot right now. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I guess we'll root for them, I guess.
Exactly.
We don't want the Astros to win.
No, that's what I was saying before. I think before you got on, I was so anti-Astros. I want nothing. They didn't get punished for their World Series that they cheated to win. I don't want them to win again.
Exactly.
So,
it's like,
yeah.
if they win, like, oh, we won without cheating. Well, great. Well, we don't want you to win.
Exactly.
At this point, yeah, I hope the Braves win, honestly.
Yes.
They deserve it.
Me too. I totally agree. You're about to get kicked off in 9 or 8 seconds. But anyway, follow me. Hit me up on Instagram or something at Too Tall Sports Podcast. You can follow along. I post stuff on there.
I sure will. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks, Nathan. I appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on. Thank you to everybody for jumping on. Really appreciate you guys listening in. But great show tonight. I'm here every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm just writing that out right now as I'm saying it. Great conversation. And you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok if you're someone that's on there as well. I post all my videos there too, so hit me up there. So just find Too Tall Sports Podcast. But great show. Thank you guys for joining in. Glad we got some good conversations, and I'll see you next week, Tuesday night, 7:30 Pacific. Thanks again, and have a great night. Talk to you soon.